And welcome back. Well, our next guests have physical disabilities, but despite the challenges that they face each day, they find the ability to be grateful and help others.
Yeah, we asked them to join us for a frank conversation about people with disabilities. And joining us this morning, we have Damian Buckman. He's married, has a brand new baby, just 4 weeks old. Yay, we're going to show a picture in a little bit. As a young man, he had cancer and had both knees replaced. He now runs the Ability Center. And Rachel Schakowsky is married. She has a young son and was born with a rare disorder that affects all 4 limbs. Her hands are bent at the wrists and she uses crutches to get around. She works outside the house and blogs for MilwaukeeMoms.com, and that's how we first met you, was because of your blog. And it's My Leg Is Not Broken is the name of your blog.
Yes.
So nice to see you guys again.
Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
You guys are kind of teasing us before this, like, hey, you have people on the show with disabilities, and then we pick this high table and high chairs.
High chairs, my knees are bent really far back, doesn't feel good, but it's okay.
Sorry, you guys.
But we did offer, I want to mention, we did offer to sit at the set, and you said we're just teasing today.
You provided accessibility and inclusivity. We appreciate it.
Yes,
there we go.
Absolutely. I think it's a tough conversation for people to have when they're not familiar or they haven't been around people who have any disabilities. So let's start by just talking a little bit about the disability that you have and what challenges it poses in your life.
Okay. I was born with arthrogryposis multiplex congenita.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
ACM?
AMC.
AMC.
Yep. And basically, my joints were abnormally fixed, and it affected mainly my hands and my legs. So as a child, I had around 15 surgeries or so to straighten my legs. So they are in the right position, but they're not as strong as they should be, which is why I use crutches to walk.
And what about your hands, and how does that affect you on a day-to-day basis?
I had no surgeries to straighten them, so they remain bent, but they're not as strong as they should be. So basically, having a kid, things that are child-proof are also Rachel-proof. So opening medicine, the doorknobs that have, you know, the keep the kids in or out, those are impossible for me.
I bet.
So that's probably my main thing, is just strength.
Yeah. And Damian, I met you, how long ago was it? It was like the early 1990s.
You
It
saw
was
the
not. It
clothes.
was the 90s. It was not the 80s.
Not the 80s.
It was not the 80s. That had to be like, I think, somewhere around 95.
Yeah.
I want to say
And
I
at
was
that-
15 or 16.
Yeah, I think you were a teenager. Was you had bone cancer, right?
I did.
And what was it? Because you had it twice,
I
right?
did, yeah. Yeah, I feel like I have to use big words now after this. So
Yeah.
I had osteogenic sarcoma, also known as childhood bone cancer, and it was in both of my legs, which now we think that would be called synchronous osteosarcoma, because it presented itself first in 1991 in my right leg, and then in 1992 when I was 14 in my left leg. And so doing the math, I'm about a 1 in a billion survivor of my diagnosis.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I hope you played the lottery.
I did, and I think I've used up all my luck so far.
didn't
Because
work.
in my life, by the time I hit 14, I think I was supposed to be 4 times dead, and so I think I've already used all that up because it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. I keep
Maybe you're a
doing
cat.
that.
You've got 9 lives.
I do. I'll keep those lives over winning the lottery.
I think so too.
You know, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, and I asked you this by email, and I thought your answer was so interesting. I'd love for you to share it. And I just said to you, what word or term do you prefer, I guess, as it relates to disability? Because some people say I'm, you know, handy-capable.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's so many different words, and especially like when we talk with parents on this show,
Right.
we're always trying to use words that
Right.
people like. What do you think? What
I loved
word
your
or phrase?
answer, Rachel.
I struggle with this, and I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
I found that parents who have children with disabilities are all about the feel-good slogans, like it's not a disability, it's a diffability, and that makes me die inside. And I'm cheesy, but I guess for me, either I'm disabled or I have arthrogryposis. I don't really like those things. I feel like it's so hard as a disabled adult to be treated as an adult. People tend to want to baby you, and using slogans like that just add to that, you know, that mindset.
Right, absolutely. I think especially even as you grow up as a child with a disability or have it at that point, you're always asked, how are you doing, how are you, how are you? And so it always becomes that, in the future, kind of hard way to actually connect as an adult to an adult. But also for me, as far as the terms used, I am so not politically correct, and I've never been politically correct, and I think we're on the same page. Same thing with parents. As you know, they're going to realize as their child gets older that their child's going to be comfortable in the body that they're in, and they're going to be fine with being called disabled or handicapped, or, you know, I think the cheesy things like handy capable that people use. I have a board member on our organization who has polio, and or had polio. And he brought that one up. He's like, oh, I love the handy capable. That's just hilarious. Because it's, you know what? I do have a disability. I am physically disabled, and that's okay. I'm comfortable in my body. And for me, it made me a better person. Hands down, made me a better person after I got diagnosed. So I would never change it for the world. And you could call me handicapped, disabled. You could call me a gimp. You could really call me whatever you want to call me. I'm fine with it.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying too is a lot of those terms are to help other people feel more comfortable and not necessarily yourself. But you did say the one word that you don't like is the word crippled, because that implies you're not able to do certain things, right? And that's a word that does get on your nerves.
Yep.
Yeah, or that you're broken somehow.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I could agree with that because that's kind of that old terminology, cripple or lame, if you will, was used back in the day when you didn't think a person with a disability could do anything. It's kind of like with Special Olympics too. I once read that they were originally told when they started that the kids are going to sink to the bottom of the pool because they didn't think kids with special needs could swim and do these kind of things. And so words like that I can agree with, like cripple and lame and things, you know, that's too outdated. But sometimes words like that people don't think, GIMP, especially for the XY generation, is actually, I don't know how you feel, but it's a pretty empowering word. And it started with me for my tattoo that I called Super GIMP. It was just a joke. It was a way to have fun with myself and my disability, but also show everybody I can do anything you can do to the best of my ability.
So much of it to me, I take from them is attitude. It's all about your attitude and how you approach it. I wonder when you're out, especially, you know, you're using your crutches, you're going in and out of a store, how do you feel when people offer to help you or say, hey, can I open the door? Does that offend you? Are you kind of like, I want to do it myself?
I think it's changed throughout the years. When I was younger, I used to be more stubborn and like, no, I can do it, don't help me. Or I would kind of like put them off or, you know, refuse the help. But now as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, they're trying to do something nice. It feels good to do nice things, so let them do it. So I'm more
inclined to let people help.
Definitely.
How about you?
To me, same thing. I mean, what's the difference? I hold the door open for somebody who's, you know, physically able and fine, an able-bodied individual, or I'll hold a door open for somebody who has a disability. You are certainly a little more inclined to help that individual. And as a person with a disability myself, sometimes if I see somebody in a wheelchair, I'm a little more standoffish just to let them, because I know it's kind of how some people feel and they want to do it themselves and prove that they can do it themselves. But sometimes I'll just kind of, especially that I've been playing wheelchair basketball, I'll just be like, look, it's faster for me to help you a little bit. Let me just help you. I want to get through the door too, maybe sometimes. But it's a huge difference when, you know, I can sometimes be in a wheelchair because my legs are so painful, or if I'm on a walk, and just to see the difference between, you can't tell that I have a disability if I'm walking, but if I'm in a wheelchair, the way people treat me, the difference is pretty astounding.
Is it?
Oh, hands down, totally different.
In a good way or a bad way?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Some people kind of look like, can I say anything to you or can I not? And some people are nicer and want to be more helpful. And certainly, I mean, if you grew up with that disability or if you're in a chair and you live it every day, you really can do it without a problem. You're going to do it in a different way, but you can do it.
So that brings up a really good question, because, you know, you had said, you know, when you're just walking around, you can't tell that you have a disability. You know, Rachel, you don't always have as much of a luxury because you're on crutches and such. How do you feel about people asking you about what's wrong? Because we were talking about this too, and I feel like most adults don't ask because they feel like, oh, I shouldn't say anything, you know, but you might get a slight look or something like that. They want to know, but they don't want to bring it up. And I would assume kids are a little bit more open to that. So how do you feel about people saying, you know, what is your disability, or asking you?
I'm personally all for it, and I always have been. When I was a kid, it was always, you know, if I was on crutches from a surgery, you know, one of the 20 that I've had, 30 that I've had, they would ask, oh, football injury? I'm like, yeah, no, cancer, actually. Thanks for asking.
I can totally see that from you, Damien. I can totally hear you say
They'd always be like giving you this look like, okay, I don't know what to say next, full your mouth, and it's like, hey, it's okay, you know, I'm here, I'm alive, I have my legs, it's all right. It's just the reality of it. I'm not going to fake a football injury or some kind of sports injury, but that was always asked. But no, I think we're all curious. I don't think we lose that curiosity, but I think our parents at some point say, well, no stare, you can't look, you gotta be quiet. And I'm all for being asked. You know, ask away. I will happily share the story. I will happily tell you what the situation is, because I know even now, at 34 years old, I'm still curious and I'm still looking, and I don't really have a problem asking, because usually they'd rather tell you the story and let you know, as opposed to not feel like they're being stared at and kind of create more awareness.
How about for you?
I completely agree. It's kind of like the elephant in the room. They know something's different. I know it, but then there's the awkward silence. So if they ask and you just tell them, then you can move on and things can be normal.
So what should you say? You know, how is a good way to ask it? Is it just to say, what is your disability?
Well, for me, I'm asked daily if I broke my leg. so that maybe that's their way of doing it, like an icebreaker type of thing. But then depending on the day, sometimes like, no, my leg isn't broken, and then it's awkward. It always happens in elevators.
Oh, it does? Yeah, that's the spot, huh?
Yeah, or like grocery store lines, or they'll be like, oh no, what did you do? It also depends on what the season is. So in like the winter, if I'm wearing jackets and stuff, they can't tell so much that I have a disability, and they think that I went skiing and had an accident or something like that.
Yeah.
But usually, I guess I'm not politically correct. How they ask me doesn't matter. Just saying like, what were you born with, or because it's obvious that there's something that's that's wrong. So
and just to be upfront about it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said once when we were emailing was that you have to rely on other people a lot more than other people because of your physical disability. But it was interesting because you said your husband in particular, you have to rely on him so much more. But you actually think that it's in a good way, that it makes you a better, stronger team as a couple.
Definitely. I know that I'm stubborn and I strive to be independent. So this is kind of like life's way of humbling me daily and needing other people. So from not being able to carry my son, my husband's been carrying him everywhere we go for the last 2 years. So that's, we have to lean on each other.
Did we already show the pictures? Because he's so cute. I hope that we show some of those pictures of both of you and your new baby too.
Yeah.
So cute. There's your wife.
Yeah, that's my wife,
She's
Cole,
so cute
with
too.
our new adopted boy, Jackson.
Oh,
Sweet.
he's so cute. Really cute.
Well, I think another thing, as you were kind of mentioning,
Ty.
look at that.
It's going to work.
As you were kind of mentioning, Molly, earlier, it's the attitudes that really come forward that everybody sort of senses and sees the light, that you guys have in your spirit and everything. It's nice to know that you both feel that having this disability has given you a benefit in your life. You've been able to kind of impact others, educate others through writing or running the Ability Center. So do you feel that it's been a gift, or do you feel that you look at it just in a positive light?
For me, it's absolutely a gift. I've always said, hands down, I was a pretty good athlete before I got sick and I had my metal knees. And I always said I would have been a cocky jock. I just would not have been nice to people at all. I would have been full of myself. And so it's an absolute blessing to have had cancer and have my metal knees and just meet a whole new group of people, and the people that I've met that are just hands down good people, whether it was in the cancer world or those with disabilities, and in that world as I start to play wheelchair basketball. So it's just a great environment and a great population to be a part of and be with. And they're all, I think, as you can hear in our conversation here, the politically correct thing, especially for adults with disabilities, especially in our generation, the 30s, the younger, the XYs, we're just comfortable with it, and it's just okay. And we invite anybody else in to be a part of it and join it and use any lingo you want to use. It's, I'm a better person because is usually the case.
You think so too, Rachel?
I agree. I also think that in addition to it making me a better person, it's made my family and the people that interact with me better too, because it's made them more sensitive, more aware. Maybe they don't take their baddies for granted too. So it's good all around.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the awareness is key.
Yeah.
The awareness is really where the key is, and so everybody can kind of understand this lingo's okay, that lingo's okay. It's okay to ask. It's we're just people as well. Same, just like you. We just have this, again, handy-capable or this different ability or whatever it is you want to call it.
Well, and as I once heard when I was at a group discussion, it is the one minority group any one of us could instantly, in a second, become a part of.
Right.
We could all become disabled at any moment.
Absolutely.
And so I think that kind of awareness is important too, because I'm not all of a sudden become a different race or a different sex or other minority group for different reasons, but people with disabilities, that's one group that we could all become a part of that population at any time.
Yeah, we tend to think we're indestructible and that nothing can happen to us, even when we see things happen to other people around us. And that was my world. I was 12 years old. One day I was fine and I was running around the playground and I was playing sports, and the next day, oh, by the way, you have bone cancer, and now you're going to have a disability for the rest of your life. And oh, all right, that sounds great, thanks.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun. But like I said, it changed me for the better, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's something that can happen any given day. I have a friend who was playing Division II football as a linebacker in college, and one day, went to retrieve a Frisbee on a roof and fell off said roof and is now paralyzed. So yeah, one day you can be perfectly fine, and the next day you could become part of this community.
Yeah, things happen in a split second. It was a pleasure talking with you both.
Those are
today.
great.
Thank you.
Come back
having us.
again.
us, yeah.
It's always nice to see you.